What's going on, everybody? Michael from Artistry Works here. I haven't posted a video in a while because I've been in sort of a legal limbo with a contract dispute. I would love to go into more detail about what exactly happened, but for this purposes of Artistry Riffs, I'm just going to give you the brass tacks about it. The long and short of it is, I had a festival gig planned out. I had a signed contract with the client agreeing to pay a certain deposit as well as the final amount by a certain day, and the client canceled the gig on me and didn't pay the deposit at all. I know what most of you are thinking, but you had a signed contract. Yes, I did. So really the purpose of this video is to teach everyone out there a contract is not even worth the paper that it's printed on. That doesn't mean you shouldn't get contracts for very specific situations. Certain gigs require it, whether that be in the form of an invoice or a literal signed contract in between two parties. I have a gig coming up in a couple months in which a client wanted a specific contract. If anyone wants a blank template contract very similar to what I use, simply email me and I'll happily send it over to you. Now, what did I do after the client informs me that the festival will be canceled and I will not be getting paid? This is a tricky situation, to say the least. In short, I'm going to give you a few steps to think about. First and foremost, stay polite, stay positive. There's no reason to get immediately into threats or to get angry. My first response was to email the client and say I was sorry to hear this had happened, remind him of said contract, and ask, where can we go from here? How can we make this right? If you start out by at least being polite, whether that's via phone call, via text message, via email, people are going to be more willing to work with you. Now, I bring this up because I had sent multiple phone calls, most of them went unanswered, and I also recorded all of my voicemails should I need to show them to a lawyer. Speaking of, in Illinois, we have something called the Lawyers for Creative Arts. There are some firms out there that will do pro bono work. That being said, if the grand total of what you're owed is less than $5,000, don't expect them to pick up your case. Lawyers tend to only really do pro bono work if it's at least worth the time, billable hours, tax deductions of sorts. I'm not a lawyer, I can't get into the specifics of it. But what I've heard from other musicians, if you're not owed at least a few $1,000s, no one will take your case. That being said, you can still threaten, and I use the air quotes here very specifically, you can still threaten a party with legal action. I never got to this exact place, but I was very close to at least informing the client I have a signed contract, I have voicemails, text messages, all of which I could show a lawyer to prove that you owe me a certain amount of money. Now, like I said, luckily it didn't get to that point because eventually I was able to get the client on the phone and effectively say, can you at least give me the deposit? The deposit was for $750. I didn't even get close to that, but I did get at least a few $100s out of it. Ultimately, I did wind up picking up some gigs for when that weekend would have been, so not only did I get paid for my regular gigs, but I also got a few $100s on top of what the client was going to pay me. The reason I bring this up today is to know when you get a signed contract, if it's below a certain threshold, the client could still potentially cancel on you, and effectively, you're screwed. So what do? First and foremost, if you are responsible for hiring a band, do not hire anyone. Don't even bother bringing it up with any musicians you would like to work with until a deposit has been paid. Even if the grand total is only $500 or even less, and you have a 50% deposit clause in your contract, don't hire anyone until that money is in your account. That's one of the most important things I learned from this experience, because the client, after signing the contract, asked me, hey Michael, can you give us headshots, bios, information about the members of your band? From this, I'm excited. I think he's all in. He can't wait to work with me and get the show promoted and ready to go. How wrong was I? So what I should have done is said, of course, insert name here, I would love to provide you with headshots, bios, and any other information you need. However, until the deposit has been paid in full by the agreed upon date, I'm not going to hire anyone just yet. Should something happen, and things go wrong. Sometimes gigs, festivals, what have you, events have to be canceled. We all understand that. It can be very risky if you promise 3 people $500 each to play a gig. A couple of weeks go by, the deposit still hasn't come, it's getting close, and then, whoops, we have to cancel the gig now. You may have to pay your musicians out of your own pocket. Now, most musicians won't expect the full amount, but they'll expect something. even $100 as an apology fee is pretty common in our business. So to drive that point home, if you are booking a gig with someone you've never worked with before and they require a written contract, make sure there is a clause in the document that says a certain amount, usually 50% or a dollar amount, totally up to you. Make sure that is paid before you hire anyone or really put in any effort. Not only did I hire people for this festival gig, I did a lot of writing and arranging. That's hours and hours of my days, which became weeks, preparing for this, that never got to get played. Now, I'm glad I worked on it. It was fun. I enjoy writing. I enjoy arranging. But ultimately, my time could have been better served doing other things. So that's going to wrap it up today. If you have any questions or if I was unclear on anything, don't hesitate to reach out via email, write something down below in the comments. But just remember to be careful out there when you're booking your gigs. Your reputation is at stake in everything we do, and it's really easy to tarnish that. Have a good day, everyone. See you next time.